Good afternoon, family. Thanks for checking out today's video. If you are new here, my name is Jonathan, and I created this channel as a way to record my progress as I work towards my goal of losing 300 pounds. If you'd like to join the family, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Also, click on the bell icon so you get alerted when I go live or post new videos. If you'd like to participate on the discussion, you can join me most weekdays where I go live on YouTube, or outside of YouTube, you can consider joining the Discord or Facebook group that I've created. There is a link to them down in the description below. Also down in the description below is a link to a Pinterest board. That is a great place for you guys to check out the different meals and recipes that I've been enjoying as I've been working towards my weight loss goal. Today is day 1060 of my challenge. So far, through a combination of extended water fasting and a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet, I have been able to lose 270 pounds. If anybody has any non-scale victories they'd like to share, I'd love to hear your non-scale victories. If you have any on-scale victories, I love hearing about those as well. If you are succeeding with your diet, let us know what you're doing to succeed. Share that with the rest of us. And if you're struggling with your diet, let us know what's causing some of your struggles. Maybe there's something we can help you out with. And at the end of the day, what are some things that you are doing or that you can do that will make staying on your diet easier than the alternative? Let's go ahead, switch over here. Hello. I hope everybody had a great weekend. Today is Monday, September 25th, 2023. And it was a good weekend for us. We had a lot of things that we had to do around the house to get done, and it was a great weekend. So I hope you guys had a good weekend as well. Pretty Girl's mom's checking in, saying hello, Pretty Girl's mom. Hope you had a great weekend. We ended up going shopping this weekend. Something that I had talked about in the past was that we used to have a Costco membership, and we ended up letting that membership expire. We weren't sure if we were going to continue on with the Costco membership, but this weekend we decided to run over there and renew the membership or sign up for the membership again. So we got our Costco membership again, and it's pretty crazy, all the things that they have at Costco that we enjoy on our diet. They have a lot of things there. And the biggest thing that we were excited about getting was the Kirkland's no salt seasoning. That's back in stock at Costco. So we picked up some of that, and we have been enjoying that with our oatmeal and some of the other different things. We had been using Table Tasty, and we still are going to continue to use Table Tasty. It just ends up being a lot more expensive than the no salt seasoning. So it'll be nice to have another flavor or another seasoning that we can use, help save a few dollars in the long run with the membership. But yeah, we picked up some things for ourselves and then for our kids as well. Taking 4 kids on a shopping adventure like that is never super fun, but we survived it. And my one daughter was very excited because we picked up some apple pears. It's something that we don't normally have at home, but when she was visiting her grandparents a couple weeks ago, they had them, and she loved them. And the only place that we knew to get those at was at Costco. So we picked up some of those for her, and so she was happy to have that. And then we also picked up a bunch of lunch snacks and things for the kids that we can get in bulk that saves us a few dollars versus buying them elsewhere. Today I was going to talk a little bit about believing in yourself, believing that you can do this, you can lose the weight that you're trying to lose. And it's something that I struggled with for years, that I didn't believe that I could do it. I didn't believe I had it in me to lose the weight again or to try to lose the weight again. And when I started this challenge, that's something that I started this with a strong belief that I could do it, that I could succeed, and that I could make my way down to my weight loss goals. And I haven't reached them yet, but I still believe very strongly that I can reach my goal of getting down to 219 pounds. In fact, I've changed my belief even to a further goal. Is I believe I can get under 200 pounds. I don't know the timing that that's going to happen, but I do believe that I can do it and that I will make it to that weight goal that I have. And like I said, from the start, I've had this belief that I could do it. I started this challenge. I started it by challenging myself to do a 30-day water fast. And that was something that I got questioned a lot while doing the water fast. You know, how are you going to do this? Is it even possible? And I strongly feel that the main reason I was able to succeed through that water fast is because I believed I could do it. I believed that if things got so bad that I had to stop the water fast, that my body would tell me, and I would take those cues and I would follow them. But I believed I could do it. I believed that I could get through the 30 days. And then I actually pushed it even further than that and went more than 40 days water fasting. And that belief in myself is what keeps me going, and it keeps me pushing forward to succeed and to reach my goal in the end. And it's tough because in the past I've had these failures, and I kept going back to those failures in my mind and kept going back to this doubt that I had. And really, that's what you have to do, is you have to remove the doubt. You have to get rid of that voice in your head that's telling you that you can't do these things, because you can succeed. There's many examples of people doing it, and there's no reason for you to believe that you can't do it. You need to believe that you can do it. And throughout the time that you're working towards it, you're going to have struggles, and you're going to have moments where you don't win those battles. But you have to hold on to that belief that if you keep going and you keep pushing on, that you will get there. You have to have a winning attitude. You have to believe that you're going to succeed. You have to keep and hold on to that belief. And it's hard, you know, and you're going to have setbacks, but you have to continue to push forward and work towards that success, because the only other option is failure. And that's, you don't want to go back. You want to go forward. It's success or failure, and success is so much more satisfying than failure is. And you want to feel that satisfaction. You want to hold on to that satisfaction for forever. And it's hard to keep those old habits back and to avoid them. But if you keep doing what you always did, you're going to get what you always got. And that's something that I've had to continually tell myself, is that if I keep doing those things, or if I were to have kept doing those things, then I wouldn't have gotten anywhere. And I would have gotten even further behind, like if I wouldn't have started on November 1st of 2020, I would have just gotten heavier and heavier. And that's not what I wanted. I wanted to change. I wanted to change everything about what was going on with my life because I wasn't happy with where things were. And so you have to make these big changes. And if you want to see big changes in your life, you have to make big changes. You can't just passively hope that things are going to get better. You have to take action. You have to work towards these goals, and you have to set these goals that are, in the beginning, may seem unrealistic. When I started this and I said I wanted to lose 300 pounds, in my mind, that was not a realistic goal. I didn't really think I was going to get down to 219.8 pounds in some ways. It was because I'd never seen that weight, and I was watching one of my old videos where I had made a comment about how, if you're trying to go from 295 pounds to 250 pounds, that I didn't know what to tell you because I had never done that. But now I have done that. And so I do know what it took for me to go from 295 to 250 and to get to that weight. A couple other people checking in here, Tennis and Yoga Girl and Jean. Hello. I hope you're doing great today. And yeah, you just have to push forward. You have to believe that you can do it. And you have to hold on to that belief. You can't let doubt creep in. You have to push that doubt away, because doubt is what kept me from getting started for so long. That fear of failure, that fear that I couldn't do it, it was crippling for me. And once I got rid of that fear, and once I started to believe that I could do something, that I believed that I could make changes in my life, that's when things started to happen for me, is when I believed I could do it. Produce Not Pills says, what's the least you've weighed in your life besides now? Is this the lowest ever? Yes. So right now, yeah, is the least I've ever weighed. And it is the lowest ever. So just kind of my timeline of memory, when I was in junior high, 7th, 8th grade, I was over 200 pounds. As a freshman in high school, I started the year at like 280 pounds. And by the end of my freshman year, I had lost some weight. I got myself down to like 220 pounds for a very brief moment in time. And then the remainder of high school, I was between 260, 275 pounds until I finished with my wrestling season my senior year. By the time I turned 18, I was at or over 300 pounds. And then since 18 years old, my goal was always to get back down to 300 pounds. And a couple times throughout my adulthood, I had gotten down to 300 pounds. Back in 2014 would be the lowest I ever got, and that was 285 pounds after I had been taking an appetite suppressant for about 10 months, and I lost over 100 pounds. So it's a very long answer to your question, but I would say the lowest was 285 as an adult. Didn't last very long. I gained the weight back very quickly after that, and then just kept creeping up. And so, yes, right now is the lightest that I have been since I was a freshman in high school. And at that time, that wasn't even for very long that I was that weight. And so it has been half my life now, I guess, over 25 years that I was well over the weight I am now. So I hope that answers the question there. Ann says, howdy folks. Christy checking in, saying hello. Hope you guys are doing great. Produce Not Pills says, was it encouraged in your family to overeat, or the environment you were raised around? Yeah, it was the environment, definitely, the food that I had eaten. So growing up, I had two older brothers that were also larger as well. And a big focus, not a big part of growing up was athletics. And so it was always kind of assumed that I would be an offensive lineman and a heavyweight wrestler. And I was both of those things. I was an offensive lineman and a heavyweight wrestler. As a lineman, being big and strong, is a big part of that. And so I leaned into that role of being big and strong. And part of that was being heavy, and then with wrestling, that really kept my weight in check. Had I not been wrestling and had a weight limit of 275 pounds throughout high school, I probably would have been heavier by the time I graduated. But it was encouraged to be big, like it didn't do me any good to be a 220 pound heavyweight wrestler when I could be a 270 pound heavyweight wrestler. So, and so that was kind of, what, it wasn't like, oh, hey, get big and fat, but it was, if you're strong enough to carry that body around, then there's nothing wrong with it. And I would, I would say that when I was in high school and I was participating in athletics, I was as fast as anybody that 270 pounds. I was the fastest person at 270 pounds. I was one of the top ranked wrestlers in my state when I graduated from high school. And so it was, as long as I could, move quick and hold the weight, that it wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't discouraged, I guess, would be part of that. Elijah here says, bro, our stories are so similar. 275 pound wrestler and offensive defensive lineman. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like, you need to be big, but it was, you can't be small, I guess, would be part of it. And, it was, yeah. And I always, like I said, I used the fact that I could handle being that heavy and I could run decent, I guess, for my size. I was always, for your size, you're so quick. For your size, there was always that caveat, that, well, somebody that's that big, I can't believe they can move like that. And I do hold muscle pretty well. I'm a pretty broad chested person that when, so for example, up until my sophomore year in high school, I was kind of what I would say would be pudgy. And then I ended up having a ACL replacement my sophomore year of high school that required a lot of rehab for my leg. But then so I wasn't able to do like a lot of leg lifts or running lifts, but I ended up going to the gym. Our weight room was open throughout the summer, and it was open on Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the morning and the evening. And since I had my leg in a brace, I couldn't do the work that I was doing. I couldn't work essentially. And so I had a lot of free time. And so I went to every open gym that we had. So I was going to the gym 6 times a week, twice a day on the Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I really changed my muscular structure within those 3 or 4 months. I went from bench pressing 225 pounds to 315 pounds. And so I always kind of use that, that strength, oh, you're big boned, or so much of my 275 pounds is muscle. I couldn't even get down to 200 pounds if I wanted to, which was a lie really that I told myself, or that I really believed. And really up until like 2 years ago, I didn't believe that I could get under 200 pounds because I had too much muscle on my body. And really, it's not true. I do have a lot of muscle on my body, but I could still get under 200 pounds. And I've changed my mindset too, is I don't need to be that strong. I don't have anything in my life that requires me to be able to pick up a 300-pound barbell, or to leg press 900 pounds. But I used the fact that I was strong as an excuse to justify being so overweight. And so, yeah, Kathy here checking in saying hello. You made it to a live one. That's awesome, Kathy. Thanks for hitting up this live stream. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd love to help you out. Elijah says your lowest was 250 pounds when wrestling. Yeah, and that was kind of the same for me. I would be between 250, 275, never really had to worry about cutting weight. While everybody else was spitting into bottles, I was mowing down on large pizzas. So, let's see. Produce Not Pill says, is your family all big people besides your brother? Not all. My dad isn't very overweight. But I am now the lightest of my brothers. I have three brothers and then a sister. My sister's also battled with weight issues as well, but she's done well with losing weight. She was real active as a runner and things like that. And so she's not as big as the rest of us were, but and then my extended family is kind of a mixed bag. My dad's side of the family is probably on average lighter than my mom's side of the family. Now knowing what I know now, so much of that is diet related. What the one saying that I've heard in the past is, they talk about diabetes, and it's not that diabetes runs in families, it's that recipes run in families. It's that, you're eating these big pasta dishes or these, casseroles and things like that. And so it is, it's probably environmental. It's traditional recipes and foods and things like that. So, yeah, we're all big people, and in fact, I'm the shortest of my brothers, I guess, which is something that kept me from being a star football player, I guess, or more of a star football player, was that I'm just barely hitting that 6 foot mark, while all my other brothers are an inch to 4 inches taller than I am. So that also is a difference. Elijah says, been watching you for a long time now and super proud and excited for you and your journey. Maybe someday you'll start yours. Do it. Get started now. You're 430 pounds at 46 years old and totally unmotivated to do anything. I was right there 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I had no motivation to do anything. It, I was so crushed from the years of failure that I just kind of leaned into it. The Dr. Lisle talks about the ego trap and about how we have this tendency that if we can't be perfect, then we just flip the chessboard because we would rather give the appearance that we're not even trying than to have tried and then failed, because that is disheartening. It is demoralizing to try and feel like you're trying so hard and failing. And it's so much easier to just not even try. And that's something that I did for years, is I just didn't even try. And I realize now that that was just continuing to harm myself and to harm the people around me, because that was a big motivator for me to get started, was that I wanted to be here for my wife and my kids and my family and my coworkers, and I didn't want to end up being a statistic, being another 39-year-old dying from a heart attack, because that's right where I was headed, was heart attack. So Produce Not Pills says, do you ever feel you will gain again, or do you think you are safe with plant food? I could. I mean, I don't. I don't think I'll ever get to where I was. I don't think that I will. It's tough because there's always that chance. There's always that worry or that fear of it happening. But as long as I continue to eat healthy foods, I won't be sad if I did. Like if I were to stick to my diet and it caused me to gain weight, as long as I stick to the diet, I'm not worried about what the weight is. I think that where I have to watch out or be careful is that is when it's the avoiding of processed foods. Like if I can avoid processed foods the rest of my life, then I will be thin. I will get to a goal weight. I'll get to a healthy weight. It's getting away from processed foods that has caused really all of my success. And I believe it causes almost everybody's success that loses weight. Is all these diets that people tote are amazing, awesome diets. I feel like they have one thing in common, and that is either removing or drastically reducing the amount of processed foods that people are eating. Because that processing of food is where the additional calories come in. It's where it kills that calorie density equation. And so as long as I can stay away from processed foods, then I'll be good. That's tough though. We live in a world where there's processed foods everywhere. It's harder to get unprocessed foods than it is to get processed foods, because, and I talked about this, I think, a lot last week, is because of capitalism. There's no profit margin in unprocessed foods. All of the profit is in the processing, the proprietariness of recipes or different chemical processes to create these foods. And so it's hard to avoid those foods. And as long as I can continue to avoid those foods, then I'll continue to see success. And that's a part of this whole process for me, is learning or finally getting that concept that the diet that I'm eating to lose weight, the diet I'm eating to get to my goal weight, is the same diet that I'm going to eat once I get to my goal weight. There's not oh, this is my weight loss diet and then this is my maintenance diet. This is my diet for the rest of my life. And that was something I struggled with so much that second year, was the idea that once I got to my goal weight, I was going to start being able to have the vegan pizzas from the restaurants, or I was going to be able to start having the processed foods once I got to my goal weight. And so I started dabbling and trying those things, and it really stalled my weight loss drastically during that second year. I still lost some weight, but I didn't lose as much weight as I could have had I not had that kind of mindset still going in the back of my head. And so that is yeah, so that's why I don't think that you know, yeah, as long as I can avoid those processed foods, I'll be good. It's just avoiding those processed foods and keeping them out of my diet, and then going from there. Produce Pill says some people think eating only plants can be some kind of eating disorder, but for some people, the one bite of processed food totally derails them. Some people just have to be super disciplined. Yeah, I think it's so tough, because I can understand people thinking the way that I'm eating is odd, or is disordered eating, but I look at the foods that everybody else is eating and the foods that I used to eat and realize that those foods were the disordered foods. It wasn't the foods I'm eating now. Whole natural foods, there's no disorder to those foods. It's the only food that we would have had access to 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. This food system that we live in right now is toxic. It's not natural, these foods that we're surrounded by. And so, yeah, having one bite of some processed foods can really derail you. It can cause a lot of issues. And I think part of it too is that it doesn't affect us immediately. It's like the the analogy I've given in the past with your eyes and your taste, like your taste adaptations, where, with your vision, you see changes immediately. You go from a bright room to a dark room, and it's hard to see in that dark room, but then within 30 seconds, it's normal. Your eyes adjust very quickly. With the food that we eat, it takes weeks for our body to adjust and change to those things, and it takes time for those foods to have effects on us. And so where I've seen the biggest issue for me, and I feel like in the past especially, is that I'm on this road where I'm losing weight, and then I lose 3 pounds one week, and then I eat something off plan that following week and I still lose a pound. I don't correlate that food that I ate with failure, because I still lost weight. But then fast forward 2 or 3 weeks and I'm still eating that one thing, and then I go from losing weight to starting to gain weight. And you don't necessarily put the pieces to that puzzle together, that, oh, it was that thing you introduced 4 weeks ago that is causing your problems today. And so, yeah, it's so much, I think, that you don't see a direct impact from those poor choices immediately sometimes. And that delay gives you a false sense of confidence, or a false sense that it's okay, when in reality it's not. And then Produce Not Pills says, Well, you'll probably have a stop button if you were to gain weight, and probably the help of your wife to make sure that you don't gain too much. Yeah, I would uh I guess once I get down to 220 pounds, I'd like that to be my, my upper limit of what I ever weigh again. Um, it's, yeah, it's, yeah, I would hope that people would, um, help keep me in check, or that, yeah, it's something that, um, I don't have, I guess I haven't made a plan for that yet because I haven't reached that point. But um, I know that if I want to succeed and I want to get to a healthy weight and I want to maintain that healthy weight, for me, it's going to be eating a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet. And if I go away from that, I I need to get myself back on track as quickly as possible, because um the one of the things that they talk about in the Pleasure Trap book is the myth of moderation, the myth of moderate consumption, the myth that a little bit of something isn't going to hurt you is uh is something that you have to realize, like, there's no amount of poison that's an okay amount of poison to eat. And um that's processed foods to me are poison. So there's no amount of processed foods that are healthy. So I need to stay compliant. Abstinence from processed foods is the only thing that's going to get me to my goal weight, and really the only thing that's going to keep me at that goal weight. Um, and Gene here says, you, you can never forget your why. Yeah, you have to have a reason, you have to have a why, and you have to hold on to that, and you have to keep pushing towards that why. There was a note I had written when I was, it's, if there's, for me, there's nothing more important than my health, than longevity, than being around here for my wife and for my kids and for my family. And if that is the most important thing, then why do anything else? Then why do anything to put that in jeopardy? And so, yeah, there's nothing more important than getting my health back, to seeing, my kids graduate from high school, get married, have families of their own, have kids, watch their kids grow up, be part of my grandkids' lives, and watch them grow up and get married. That is what, a big why for me. That's the whole thing, so yes, hold on to your why. Elijah says, brother, you are a huge inspiration to so many people that you may not have heard from. What are the most important things you've learned from your journey? Do you have plans to start exercising? Yeah, I do have plans to start exercising. I am more active than I ever was. I do go and run with my kids, or bike with them, or different things. I don't have like a set, like, I'm gonna go and walk every morning or do this thing, this thing. And I did for a little while when I did a triathlon 2 years ago at this point, which is crazy. But what are the most important things you've learned from your journey? That's a big question. Um, that I guess the topic that you have to believe in yourself. that's a huge part of this thing, is that I've had to believe in myself. I had to believe I could do it. And I had to continue to push towards that belief. Um, the there's so much that I feel is important things that I've learned. I've continued to educate myself. That's something that going into this, I didn't really think much about education or learning. I thought I knew it all. I thought I knew everything I needed to know. And then I decided to eat this plant-based diet and was like, oh, I don't know anything about a plant-based diet. If before this, if you would ask me about eating a keto diet or a low carb diet or doing like a Weight Watchers type thing or different plans or programs I had read about, I would have felt like I knew all of those things. But I came into this and started eating a plant-based diet and realized that I don't know anything. And so educating myself, continuing to learn has been a huge factor in my success with this. Calorie density and volume eating, I think, is something that for me and for people that are grossly overweight, the people that are over 300, over 400, over 500 pounds, that we eat a larger volume of food than the people that are a normal or natural weight or even 250 pounds. Like, I eat a larger volume of food because my body wants a larger volume of food. It's instinctual. It's part of my DNA to eat a large volume of food. In order to satisfy that instinctual need for volume, I had to learn about calorie density, and I had to learn that I can't eat these high calorie foods because then I end my day at 10,000 calories. Now I can eat the same volume of food, but because it's 300 and 400 and 500 calories per pound, I end my day at 2,500 or 3,000 calories. So I still get the same satisfaction from the volume, because that's our bodies measure volume. There's no calorie measurement device in your body. Your body, whether you eat 1,000 calories or 500 or 200 calories or however many calories, it doesn't know that. It doesn't know that the ice cream I'm eating is 2,000 calories per pound. It just knows I ate a pound of ice cream. If I ate a pound of apples, my body doesn't know that I ate 300 calories worth of apples. It knows that I ate a pound of apples. And so you have to change the density of the food that you eat. The food that's on your buffet table in front of you that you're willing to eat needs to be a lower calorie density than the foods that you used to eat. So calorie density, volume eating, education, and really accountability, having somebody other than yourself that you're being accountable to is huge, because it's easy to talk yourself into going easy on yourself. It's something that an analogy I've used since the days that I was hiring a personal trainer, and I was like, I needed a personal trainer to push me harder than I was willing to push myself. Because if I told you to punch yourself in the leg, you would hit yourself only so hard. But if you told somebody else to punch you in the leg, they're likely going to punch you harder than you would ever punch yourself. And so accountability has also been a big thing as well. Paula here says, how is your blood sugar? Any diabetes now? By the way, you're doing great. So I had never gone to a doctor and had them tell me that I had high blood sugar or diabetes. I also avoided going to a doctor for a very long time. So the last time I went to a doctor before this challenge was in 2013. I was 415 pounds. My blood work came back. I had low vitamin D, but everything else seemed to be in the normal ranges. I was also just barely over 30 years old. And so I kind of had youth on my side. Um, I've made the comment to my wife that I've never really had bad blood work. And then she looks at me and says, well, you never went to a doctor when you were 500 pounds either. So if you would have gone to a doctor at 500 pounds, likely there would have been pre-diabetes, diabetes, things like that. But I didn't go to a doctor until 6 months into this challenge. I'd already lost over 100 pounds. I was eating an amazingly healthy diet. And so I'd never had any bad blood work. I definitely don't have diabetes now. My biggest medical success, in my opinion, since starting this is that I don't wear a CPAP machine anymore. I don't suffer from the sleep apnea and the snoring like I used to. And really, I snored from the time I was in high school. I had issues with snoring all the way up until recently when I lost the weight here. And I found that wearing the CPAP machine actually hindered my sleep. It was bugging me to have my CPAP on. And so I don't wear a CPAP anymore. I would say that I've essentially cured my sleep apnea that I had. And so I know everybody's biology is different, but for me, it's definitely been a huge success medically for me not to have to wear a CPAP because I had, sorry guys, I still have this cough. I had one of the worst cases of sleep apnea that I had ever heard of. And that at the time, my doctor probably had ever seen. I had a CPAP machine that the machine went up to 20 and the setting I was on was 18. And I believe that the only reason they set me at 18 was to see if that worked. And if it didn't, they had somewhere to go. And they could bump it up to 20 if they needed to. So, yeah, that's my biggest success in this has been the removal of the CPAP and then the reduction in swelling in my legs. I had real bad swelling. Unfortunately, it still comes back if I do eat a lot of processed foods. So that's kind of a nice barometer or measurement tool for me to know or to keep me from eating the junk food is to not get that swelling back in my legs here. Rebecca says, you sure have learned a lot about yourself on your journey and things to teach other people. Yeah, I mean, that was my hope in starting this was to hold myself accountable, but then to show other people a roadmap to success because I had no idea what path I was going to take. I had no idea what diet I was going to end up on. It was going to be I'm going to go, I'm going to do this diet as long as I can. And if it stops working, I'm going to switch to another diet, then switch to another diet. And I feel so fortunate that I landed on this whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet because I don't know, outside of eating a raw diet, I don't know that there's much a diet that would be cleaner than this diet would be the best. Do I consider myself a food addict? I think that I eat a lot of food. I think that it's part of my DNA. I think that the foods that I used to eat were addictive foods and that I could become addicted to sugar and salt and oil. And so, yeah, in some ways I was addicted to those foods, but I don't think my drive to eat a lot of food is an addiction. I think that the foods that I was eating were the environment I was putting myself was an addictive environment. But I don't want to give the impression that I eat less volume of food now than I did 3 years ago or 4 years ago, because I still eat a very large volume of food. I just change the content of the food that I eat. Produce Not Pill says, your good friend is obese. I wish he would change. I wish there was more that you could do. It's so hard to watch. You don't want him to have health event, but it will happen eventually if he doesn't make the change. Yeah, I mean, share this channel with him. Maybe a little self-promotion there. It's tough because there's nothing that anybody could have done to get me to start before I started on my own. I mean, Carrie tried many times to have conversations with me. She tried to get messages to me to get me to change. And even my wife standing next to me couldn't get me to make that change. I did have to make the decision to do it on my own. And it was the fear of a catastrophic event that really got me going. The thing I would credit to finally opening my eyes was my Garmin watch. It didn't even, when I bought the watch, it wasn't even on my mind that it would be what would be the catalyst for this. But this watch shows me what my resting heart rate is, or what my heart rate is at all times. And that number being put up in my face made me realize that there was something wrong. You know, I knew that when I went, our bedroom's in the basement of the house. And so when I would go from the basement of the house to the main floor, just walking up that flight of steps, I'd be out of breath. My heart rate would increase, but I wouldn't really think anything of it. But once I started measuring it with this watch and seeing, like, I wasn't even intentionally measuring it, but I would go up the steps and I would be kind of out of breath, and I'd be like, I wonder what my heart rate's at. And I'd look down and I'd be at 125 or 130 beats a minute. And it made me face it, and it made me realize that that's not right. That's not normal. I shouldn't have that big of a spike in my heart rate just from walking up 10 or 12 steps. And so that helped me kind of get motivated to do something. The swelling in my legs and the pain in my ankles was not helping me. You know, I would wake up every morning and I would lay in bed for a couple minutes, just kind of trying to just like move my ankle around, you know, just to warm it up for the day it was about to endure. And, you know, I'd slide off the end of the bed, and the first couple steps I would take was always painful. And it took months or years of that happening for me to finally realize I needed to do something. And my kids were getting older, they were getting more active, they were getting involved in things that I wished I could have been a better participant in, or, you know, to be a better parent to them. And so yeah, it's you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can't make somebody decide to get healthy. But there's so many things that could trigger it. You know, there's so many things that could cause them to open their eyes and see what they're doing is killing them, you know. And you know, it's tough though. Kathy here says that they're at maintenance. It's been over a year and a half. That's awesome. And you correct your weight and your need for volume. Low density food is, sorry, let me see. At your corrected weight and your need for volume low density foods is diminishing. The need for big volume may come back, but lately it's a lot less. Go figure. Yeah. And I I I do eat less now than I did at 450 pounds. You know, there was things that um I was eating when I was that big, just kind of to make sure that I wasn't getting hungry, and things that you can eat less. And I'm and that's awesome. That's it's amazing that you've got to your maintenance weight and you've been there for a year and a half as well. So I definitely want to congratulate you on that, Kathy, and keep going. That's awesome. Jean here says that she's noticed similar effects. She's not at her goal weight yet, but then she's eating less, or her need for large volume has gone down, which is awesome. And then Jean says having a community that I can connect to is highly helpful. Yes, that's been great for me, is having this community. I've been listening to Dan Buettner's book, The Blue Zones of Happiness. There is a big aspect of that is diet related, but there's also a huge aspect of happiness that is socially related. Having these social interactions, these family connections that that is extremely helpful for people. Paula here says, good, the CPAP is noisy and uncomfortable. Yeah, I mean, it was part of my life, and in wearing a CPAP, I would wear a full face CPAP, and I always had a beard, and so I'd have to strap it to my face really tight. And so, yeah, it was this, like, I couldn't sleep without it either. Like, there was this such a fear of what would happen if I didn't have it. And I mean, I had trips that were ruined because I forgot my CPAP. You know, we had a 5-hour road trip. We got 2 hours down the road, and I remembered, or I realized that I had forgotten my CPAP machine. And it was like, well, I can't go back. There's nowhere you can get just a rental CPAP machine. And so not being tethered by that CPAP machine has been extremely amazing for me. And so I'm happy that I don't have it. Let's see, Produce Out Pills, would your breathing before CPAP keep you up also? Life before a CPAP, that's a while ago now. I had a CPAP machine. It was either in 2006 or 2007 that I got diagnosed with sleep apnea. I was probably 25 years old, 26 maybe, when I had a CPAP. But yeah, I had a miserable couple years prior to my CPAP. I hadn't met my wife yet. I was working for our family business, and my mom was very concerned about me and begged me to go see a doctor. And I would always put it off because I was young and I was working a lot of hours with the family business, but then I was also living with my buddies, and we'd be drinking all the time or going out to the bars. And so I always kind of chalked up my tiredness to burning the candle at both ends. I'd be up at 6 a.m. I'd go to bed at midnight. And I would be tired all day. And there were days that I was working in the office that I would fall asleep at my computer. There'd be nights I was at home playing video games, and I'd fall asleep at the computer playing video games. And I just continually blamed my lifestyle for my tiredness. And I would get awful reflux, and I'd wake up choking, on phlegm and just nastiness. But it really, the wake up call for me it was the spring, and I was going to a customer's house to do an estimate for work at their house. And I had just got my motorcycle out of storage and was riding my motorcycle to their house. And I drove up to the house, or was driving up to the neighborhood. I was on these roads. The speed limit was 15 to 25 miles per hour. And I was falling asleep while driving my motorcycle. And it was one of those, like, if you've ever fallen asleep in class where you're like nodding off, or if you've ever had an issue that, I had this happen all the time. When I was driving a car, I would be so tired that I could barely keep my eyes open, and I kind of, close them for a second and then wake up, and you swerved off the road a little bit, or you swerved, towards the dotted line. But I did that on a motorcycle, and I kind of, just nodded my eyes awake, and it was like the biggest startled awake I had ever been in my life. And it startled me so much that I finished the meeting at the customer's house. I went back to the office, and I said to my mom at the office, I was like, hey, I need to see a doctor. There's something wrong. Because, I don't think I told her at the time exactly what it was, but I realized that I needed to do something. And then I went in for the testing. I went and saw the doctor. He said, okay, you got to go and do a test. They're going to find out the first night whether or not you have sleep apnea or not. And then the second night, we're going to, if they say that you have sleep apnea, then the second night they'll hook up some more machines and they'll measure what level your sleep apnea is at. I checked in for the first night of the sleep study, went to bed at 9 or 10 o'clock or whatever. The technician woke me up within 2 hours of falling asleep. He said, sir, I've been watching you sleep here, and your numbers are so bad. You absolutely have sleep apnea. I talked to the doctors. They gave me the go-ahead to hook you up to the measurement tools tonight so that we can get you measured. You don't have to come back because you need to do something. My oxygen saturation level was extremely low. And this is, again, 15 years ago. I don't know the exact numbers, but it was low. Like, I want to say in the 60s, which is, I'm not sure, but I know that they said that for every 60 seconds that I was asleep, 30 of those seconds I was not breathing. And so, yeah, they got me hooked up with a machine. That following week or 2 weeks between the time that I was diagnosed until the time that I got my machine were some of the scariest 2 weeks of my life, because at that point I got on the internet and I started Googling, sleep apnea, and people were sharing their stories about how their loved ones had suffered from strokes or died from undiagnosed sleep apnea. And people were sharing their numbers, and my numbers were worse than anybody's that were sharing them on the internet at the time. And so, yeah, it was tough. It was, and that changed my life. Getting that CPAP machine, that first night, that first week of having the CPAP machine was life changing, because it allowed me to finally get rest. And if you think you suffer from sleep apnea, if you've had anybody tell you that they think you have sleep apnea, go get checked out. It is not worth the risk. Get checked out, and then start changing your diet, start changing your lifestyle so that you can get off of the machine. But don't avoid it because you think it looks silly, or you're worried that somebody's gonna not want to be with you because you have a CPAP machine. Because if you don't have it and you need it, then you might not be around to be with anybody. And yeah, so that's kind of my CPAP story, I guess. And I had a CPAP for 15 years, and now I don't use it. It's just a paperweight sitting. It's still sitting next to our bed on the ground, but I haven't used it in, gosh, probably a couple years now. It was very quickly after eating this way and getting rid of those foods that cause inflammation that I was able to get away from the CPAP machine. Let's see here. Gene here says that you might want to consider hypernourishment smoothies like Dr. Goldner recommends. That is for any inflammation that is. Yeah, I've seen lots of things with that Dr. Goldner yeah, there's been a lot of people that have been following her diet recommendations and have seen success. But for me, eating a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet is the key to my success, 100%. Protostop Pills says, do you ever eat smoothies or do you ever eat nice cream? I had what I guess you would call nice cream last night, actually. So when we first started, yeah, I was doing smoothies. We were doing mixed berries with bananas and apple juice and water and spinach, and having smoothies like that. And then we switched to eating oatmeal for breakfast and started having more vegetables in our breakfast and less fruit in our breakfast. So for the first while I did have smoothies, but not much, not recently. I haven't had a smoothie in at least a year at this point. As far as the nice cream, what I have for nice cream, we have it's a Ninja Creamy, I think is what it is. It's a kitchen appliance that they have these cups that you fill up and then you freeze them, and then it blends the ice essentially, or makes the ice into a cream. And so the only smooth ice cream that I eat from the Ninja Creamy is pineapple ice cream. And so we just take a can of pineapple and we put it in that little cup thing, and then we freeze it for 24 hours, and then I'll eat pineapple. So it's the only ingredient is pineapple and pineapple juice. And that is the nice cream that I eat. We've had other things that we've tried to do, like bananas and peanut butter and all kinds of different combinations of things. But for me, consistently, pineapple it's always good. And in fact, the pineapple we got that was in the nice cream yesterday, we bought from Costco a couple days earlier, and it was awesome. Like, it was definitely a different, it had to me, it had a better flavor than the pineapple that we had been getting from Walmart in the past. So, yeah, that's kind of the only nice cream that I eat is pineapple creamy in the Ninja Creamy. Let's see. Gene here says sleep apnea only gets worse. You will develop cardiac problems and it must be attended to. Yeah, I mean, before I got diagnosed with sleep apnea and I got my CPAP machine, it was pretty rough. I was in a bad spot, and really it changed my life. It literally woke me up. I ended up losing some weight. I ended up getting serious about kind of my future, and really over the years I have credited the fact that I got a CPAP machine for me actually ended up meeting Carrie and us meeting and getting married. Like, had I not made that change and got the CPAP machine, I don't think I would have I would ever met Carrie and have the life that I have now. So it's kind of a weird kind of, I'm thankful for it, but I'm also thankful that I don't have to use it anymore. Let's see. Produce Out Pill says, could you imagine if you went back to that same CPAP doctor now? He'd probably be stunned, don't you think? That is really kind of a funny comment in the end, because I don't go to the doctors very much. I don't imagine that doctor would even remember who I am at this point. I was always a little bit miffed at that doctor, I guess, if that's the right word, because I never saw that doctor again. Like, I ended up, the only time I ever needed anything from that doctor was to get the prescriptions refilled. And at the time, you didn't have to go into the office to get a CPAP prescription renewed. That changed over the course of the time that I had the CPAP machine, but I I don't know that I ever saw that doctor again after I got my CPAP machine, because I was young and I'm just not the type of person to get that. But yes, the drastic difference between me now and me 15 years ago, I think that any doctor would be shocked by. And the doctor that I probably, if I ever wanted to see an old doctor again, the doctor that I would ever ring up to be like, hey, look at me now, would be the doctor that I went to in 2013, and he got me hooked on the appetite suppressant. And that doctor, I'd have some words for him, I guess. The treatment that he had me do and that he prescribes to people, and I still see his advertisements around town because he totes himself as the weight loss doctor. I even went on a local television show promoting his program because of the success I had seen. And I had success while I was taking an appetite suppressant. We didn't mention appetite suppressant at any point during the program that we were on. And so, yes, I would definitely have some thing. I'd like him to see me now and to see how I succeeded on my own. I didn't need to be taking phentermine. I didn't need to be injecting some crap into my gut. Like, I don't even know what it was. It was like a vitamin B or something that I was injecting into my stomach to help with my weight loss. And in reality, all I needed from what he was doing was the appetite suppressant. It was, the injections were supposed to be like to help focus or low. I don't even remember now. Like, I have such a disdain for him. The thing that I would say that the takeaway from his program that I would say would be a positive was that he would have weekly meetings. And for me, those weekly meetings were accountability. And I got the same thing when I went to Weight Watchers and I did the weekly meetings at Weight Watchers. That accountability, that stepping on the scale was a huge motivator for me. And that was the only thing that I think that doctor was doing right, was the accountability or having these meetings. There wasn't even, the accountability was self-imposed because I got to choose whether or not I went to the meetings or not. And I would go to those meetings because they kept me going. They kept me on. Let's see here. Carrie says, "Eek, I forgot." Well, yeah, you're late. Jeez. That's okay. I suppose it's okay to forget every now and then. Glad to have you here now. And then let's see. Gene said here that Dr. Goldner's smoothies are mostly greens and enough fruit to make it drinkable. Yeah, and that's probably the opposite of the smoothies I would make. It was mostly fruit and enough greens to make me feel like I was doing something right. For the flax seed or chia seeds are the key to the recovery process. Um, and then Gene here says that the doctor probably didn't care. He considered you wearing a CPAP as a win for him. Yeah, it's weird to think back to that time too, because I was kind of what I feel like at the forefront of the sleep apnea kind of epidemic that we deal with in society. You know, like I was the first person I knew that had a CPAP machine. And now I can think of multiple people in my family that have CPAP machines, and my extended family that have CPAP machines. And it's almost it's so much more normalized now, and so much more is understood about sleep apnea than there was in 2006, which seems crazy. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but there's been huge advancements with that kind of the study of that and the equipment and the things that you could have. um Produce Not Pills said, do appetite suppressants have any negative effects? Absolutely. The negative effects of appetite suppressants is that they don't teach you anything. They don't teach you how to eat. They don't teach you how to live. And the appetite suppressant I was taking, this phentermine, you could only take it for, I think I took it for 9 months, and that was like the absolute longest they could prescribe it to me off of because it was an off-label use, or it was I don't know what they use it for normally, but um it was, the prescription was not for what the drug is approved for, which and so I'm sure there's other side effects, but the biggest side effects for me was it didn't teach me how to eat, and it created this false sense of confidence that I was doing it, that I was succeeding, and that I was had figured out. You know, like I remember having conversations with family members and like, how did you lose all this weight? And they're like, oh, you just got to eat less food. We're eating far too much food, and that's why we're all overweight. And the second I quit taking the appetite suppressant, I was back at the line at Taco John's or Taco Bell, grabbing food and getting McDonald's and eating just the crap foods that I was eating. And while taking the appetite suppressant, I lost 120 pounds. My diet consisted of Pringles, Kit Kats, and Polish sausages. Like that was my diet every day, is what I was eating. So it didn't teach me how to eat. It gave me this false sense of confidence that I was doing things right, and I had won my battle with obesity. And then as soon as I quit taking them, I I lost that confidence. I lost, that drive to keep going. I gave up. I doubted that it created doubt in me that I wouldn't, um, that, that I was a failure, or, it created this mindset that I was a failure. And really up until this challenge, I thought that it was my only way out was going to be surgery. And I really didn't want to do surgery. And so this was kind of I'm going to do this crazy water fast, and I'm going to give dieting one last shot, or else I'm going to go talk to a doctor, and we're going to start changing my physical makeup. And yeah, I'm happy. So Carrie says she's making some homemade marinara sauce over here tonight. Sounds delicious. I should probably get off here and go eat. Let me go through these questions here. Where can we find your recipe? You might want to check. Carrie says here the recipe for the marinara sauce that she's using tonight is one from Be a Plant-Based Woman Warrior Cookbook. That cookbook, we've gotten a lot of great things out of that cookbook. And so it might have some salt, oil, sugar in the recipe, but we just don't put those things in it. And so, yeah, so that's where you can get that recipe. Kathy here says you were always thirsty in the middle of the night and in the morning, and you started mouth taping, and the thirst is gone. You were mouth breathing all night, and your husband, or all night, though my husband said I didn't snore. And there's a new book by James Nestor called Breathe, which cites how bad mouth breathing is. You know, there's something I have seen ads. I don't know. It's on one of the social media platforms. It might be Instagram. For a company called Hostage Tape, that I've been seeing that all over the place these last few weeks. So there's been a huge push for this, mouth taping, to stop from the mouth breathing. So I'll have to look into that and see. I don't know if I could put tape over my beard. It wouldn't hold very well. And then my nose has been so stuffed up the last few weeks that I'd be afraid that I would just suffocate on my own snot. But yeah, I've heard a lot about this mouth breathing stuff over the last few weeks. So, I might have to look into that, but I feel like I've been sleeping great. And, especially the last few weeks, I've been just having real good night sleeps. I've been feeling pretty rested these last few weeks. Let's see. Elijah asked, what are we going to put the sauces on? Carrie says that the kids are going to have it on some pasta, and we are having eggplant parmesan. We have not had eggplant parmesan in months. So, yeah, we're going to have to check that out. I'm excited about that tonight. Gene here says, typically doctors treat symptoms, but not the causes for sleep and weight loss. They write a script and collect more money when the problem remains. I mean, that's the struggle that we're dealing with in society now, is that there's so much more money in the treatment than there is in the cure. And Carrie made a comment that, yeah, Band-Aids are not the solution, that they just try to, they're not looking to cure anything because there's no money in curing things. The money is in the treatment and the coming back for more and more. That's why I don't like going to chiropractors. Anyways, Elijah says, sorry, a personal question. What do you do for a job? I work in an office. We run a moving company. We move people's furniture from house to house, apartment to apartment. We do commercial moves. We do some work for the military, with service members, moving them. So yeah, I run a moving company, and then I work in the office as the bookkeeper. We also have a comic shop that we run that as well. So I do all the books and stuff for the comic shop as well. So we have a moving company and a comic shop. So that's what I got going on for me. Let's see. And I went to school. I got a degree in accounting, and so I have a basic knowledge of accounting, I guess. And so that's how. That's what I focus on, is the accounts receivable, accounts payable, and writing the paychecks and depositing the checks from the customers. So kind of all that stuff. Produce Out Pill says, nice chat today. Thank you. Let's see here. And what are your sleep positions? I sleep on my side. I don't sleep on my back. I know I sleep either on my right or left side. And then Carrie says, and diapers. Yes. So one of the things that me and Carrie started a few years back, we have a nonprofit organization. It's called Heine Heroes. We provide diapers to low income families. So there's a thing called diaper need. And what that is that there are people that have children that can't afford diapers. And there's a lot of government assistance out there for low income people, but that assistance does not allow for using those funds to buy diapers or period products. And so we help to kind of bridge that gap so that people can have some diapers for their child if they need to have diapers, also period products as well for people that are having a hard time with affording those things, you know, because it's you know, the idea for me, the idea of babies running around in dirty diapers all day, it really it kills me, you know, because it's not that baby's choice. They don't get to choose that they don't have diapers. And so if we can help put dry diapers on babies' butts, then that makes us happy. So yes, Rebecca says plus our nonprofit here as well. Yes. Yeah, that's something that we've been doing and growing for the past few years. And, you know, we could be 10 times the size we are and we still wouldn't be meeting the need for something as basic as diapers. You know, you don't think of it as being a burden on people, but it really is. And yeah, so if you have a local diaper bank near you, I would recommend volunteering or donating to them, because it you know, these kids are our future and we need to protect them. So Gene here says possibly a future Plant Nation pod. No, there's already a Plant Nation pod around us here. And so I'll just enjoy going to their meetings and let them do all the work. You know, I've done a lot of things over the past, you know, over the years that have taken up a lot of time. So let's see. Pursuit of Wellness says your first day, no soda for breakfast. That's awesome. That's awesome. Keep it up. I hope it was can you make it a whole day, no soda, or is it just no breakfast? That's still awesome. Celebrate that win. And that sugar addiction is tough to break. I know it is. It's man, it's so tough to break. So keep it going. Realize that when you're craving that soda, you're just thirsty. It's really, it's just thirst. You know, it's your brain has got this incredible imagination, and it's going to imagine the highest dopamine stimulating product to satisfy the need your body is asking for. So when your body is sending the signal to your brain saying it's thirsty, your brain takes that signal and says, oh, the stomach says we're thirsty, or the body says we're thirsty. What can we do to get this person to drink? Let's make them think of the highest dopamine stimulating thing we can. And that's why soda pops into your head. But in reality, just drink water. Just quench that thirst. That water is going to help clean your system. It's going to get that sugar out of your system. It's going to help you out so much. But yeah, that is awesome. Congratulations on the no soda for breakfast. That was, you know, I was a diet soda fanatic. I would drink so much of it. So let's see. Produce Out Pills says, do you go to the plant pod meetings? We have been to a few. We've brought our kids to them, which is interesting because we're already probably the youngest people that show up to the meeting. Just me and Carrie are the youngest people. And then we bring our 4 kids that are under 12 years old with us. And so we just started going within the last year. We've been to 2 or 3 different events that they've had. And it's always great. I love taking our kids because they are, they're never in a place where they can eat everything that's on the buffet table. And when we go to these Plant Pure Nation pod, or these plant pod things, we let them, everything here is edible. They might not like everything there, but there's always something that they like, and they just, eat a bunch of that. And a lot of times when we go to gatherings, it's like, oh, well, you can only have what we brought, or maybe you can have the vegetable tray. And so, yes, we like taking them to those meetings so that they can also see that their parents aren't the only crazy people in the world that are eating this way or trying to eat this way, that there's other people, even though we're, like 0.0001% of the population. That's tough. So, let's see here. It says 3:30 p.m. in Arizona and still loving the only water. You can do this. Yes, you can do it. And it just takes time, and it takes time. Just keep doing it. When you get thirsty, drink water. The longer you get away from it, the easier it is. And it's going to be tough for a few days. It is. It's going to be tough to rewire your brain. It takes time for your brain to start thinking of a different source and realizing that you're done with it, so keep it up. Elijah says, hell yeah, Pursuit of Wellness, you got this. And then Barbie here says, hello, I finally got you live. Yes, you got me live. I'm breaking records today with my live stream here. So Elijah says, have your cravings changed? Yeah, absolutely. My cravings now are for cashews and dehydrated mango, or maybe some Ezekiel bread with nut butter on it. Like, that's far different than the cravings I used to have in the past when I was eating all that crap food. Like, I would be craving fast food and craving all kinds of other stuff. Let's see, Carrie. I'm going to have to kick some kid's ass. Carrie says that our daughter today had some kid heckling her at lunch today, but she handled it well. She's a tough kid. Yeah, it's so much. It's so tough, like, I wish I could be there to protect them from all of the grief that they might get over the years. But they understand the health difference. They know what I was like before. They know what Carrie was like before, when we were so much heavier. And then also the impact that eating animal products has on the animals. But yeah, I'm gonna have to kick some kid's ass. Pursuit of Wellness, you're working on drinking it. You're drinking LMNT and water. You inspired me with your wife. Your feet are not as swollen and using the bathroom so much, but you feel like you got this. Elijah asked what Element is. Element is an electrolyte supplement that people take. I would definitely recommend trying to just drink water, but drinking, there's an analogy. One doctor I've heard, they talk about yeah, I guess the element is going to have a lot of sodium in it, and I'm not a big fan of added sodium. But if adding a little bit of salt to something gets you to eat something healthy, then it might not be a bad thing. And so if you're unwilling to eat broccoli, but if you put a little bit of salt on broccoli, then you're willing to eat broccoli, then put the little bit of salt on the broccoli, because eating the broccoli is more important than avoiding the salt. And if putting element in your water is going to get you to drink more water, then I'd be for it, I guess. But at the end of the day, just drinking just straight water like this, I got a mason jar of water here. Um, that is enough. Water, plain water is enough. You know, broccoli and potatoes is enough. You don't have to have these added flavors and stimulants. But if it's what you need to get you there, then I'm all for it. So let's see here. Jean says the child is most likely jealous her parents care enough to feed her good food. Yeah, I mean that's something we'll have to tell our kid to tell, you're just jealous because my parents care about my health. My parents want to see me live a long and healthy life. Um I've definitely, you know, um told my kids things that, you know, I wouldn't be upset if they said. They might get in trouble for saying to other people, but yeah, that's tough. So, and then um so pursuit of wellness, are you doing a water fast? uh I guess I didn't even pick that up, that you're doing a water fast, or if you just quit drinking soda for breakfast. But because Matthew says bravo on water fast, not there yet. Yeah, water fasting is difficult. It's difficult to get in that mindset that you can do it. And I believe that water fasting, the biggest thing that you need to take away from water fasting is that you need to use it as a reset. You need to change your diet from before the water fast to after the water fast. Like, that was my goal when I started, was I was going to do this water fast, and I was going to start my diet at the end of the water fast. And I was not going to go back to the way I used to eat. And if you water fast for 2 days or 10 days or 100 days, just make sure that you're eating a drastically different diet after your water fast, and make sure you have appropriate foods available so that if you feel like you can't continue with your water fast, you have something to eat. You have some fruit or some juice available to you to get some calories in. Um, but yes, it's a great way to reset. But yeah, I didn't even think of, I didn't even pick up on that you might be doing a water fast there. So that's awesome. Um, let's see here. Elijah says, kids have always been so cruel. Time for some Brazilian jiu-jitsu and wrestling classes for the kids to start them young. Walk softly, but carry a big stick. Yeah. I, it's funny because we're talking about the daughter that was having this issue that Carrie's talking about. She's pretty good at standing up for herself. We have a younger daughter that I don't have any doubt that she would probably drop kick somebody if they started giving her a hard time. And Carrie knows who I'm talking about, but that one's going to be the interesting one. But yeah, kids are always, like, I was a big kid growing up, and I didn't get made fun of a lot because I was like the big strong kid, that I could beat you up if you made fun of me. But I absolutely remember every time somebody made fun of me growing up. Like I can remember the people's names. They're on a list in my head. But you made the list, buddy. And yeah, kids are cruel. Kids are. They just don't know. You don't know what you don't know. But yeah. So and Pursuit says, yeah, that it's a stopper for you, the element, and it worked for this morning. That's awesome. Just keep it up. Keep drinking the water only. And get rid of that soda. So bad. And so Gene's saying, have a great day. Enjoy the marinara sauce. You're jealous. You need to go buy. And yeah, I think it's about time for me to sign off here today. This is a world record for me, 1 hour and 40 minutes. I appreciate all of you guys checking this out. It says you're fasting till dinner to try to kick the soda. It's been the one thing you can't get out of your life. Yeah, you can do it. Believe that you can do it. And it's every time that you successfully deny the temptation is a feather you can put in your cap. It's you can look back at that and at the end of the day today, when you go to bed, you can be proud that you made it through the end of the day. And then tomorrow when you wake up, you can think, I made it an entire day yesterday. I can make it another day today. And then when you get up tomorrow, you can be like, well, I made it the last 2 days. I can make it 2 more days. And drink water. Drink lots of water. It's going to flush that out of your system. It's going to help get rid of those cravings. Yeah. And yeah, let me know how you're doing. I'd love to get updates on you. So I am not going to be live tomorrow. My kid has a sporting event tomorrow, so I will not be live tomorrow, but I will be back on Wednesday to go live. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. If you're still here an hour and 40 minutes in, you are a rock star, and I appreciate you guys so much. Your support helps me, keeps me motivated, keeps this thing going, and it's awesome. And Elijah says, yeah, if you want to reach out, we have a Discord too, the Discord or the Facebook group. If you want to reach out to us outside of the live stream, reach out. You guys, I'd love to have a community of people supporting each other. And I love having you guys here supporting me and supporting us, on the live streams here while I do go live. So thanks so much for being here. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you get subscribed to the channel. Click on that bell icon. Also hit the like button on your way out the door here. I would really appreciate it. And if you have not started your diet yet, get started right now. There's nothing coming up that's more important than your health or your overall well-being. And there's nobody that reaches their goals, looks back, and wishes they would have waited. Everybody wishes they would have started sooner. So get started, guys. I will see you in the next one.